concludes our tour of Edinburgh Castle. So, what were your highlights?
Highlights. I like the St. Mary's Chapel. No, Margaret's. Do it again, sorry. Margaret.
So we recently took a short trip to Scotland, and our first stop was Glasgow.
Alright, so we just arrived at Glasgow International Airport and we're waiting for our Uber to go to our accommodation. And as you can see, we're here waiting for our Uber to arrive.
As this was our first time visiting Scotland, we were not really familiar with the public transport, so we decided to use an Uber to get to our hotel. We had stayed in the Hilton Garden Inn in Glasgow, and it was the perfect location for us. The room was spacious and we had a great view of the city, which you can find in the link below.
Just outside the hotel was the River Clyde, which gave us a perfect view to watch the sunset. We had a few hours in Glasgow before nightfall, so we decided to do a quick tour of the city. The first stop was Botanic Gardens, and this was exactly what we needed after a long day of travel. The best part is that you can visit the Botanic Gardens for free.
Okay, so we're at the Botanic Gardens in Glasgow, and for some reason I brought my big lens today. I got surprised with the squirrels that are here. So it was quite nice to see that. It looks like it's some type of squirrel sanctuary. We even got to feed the squirrels, but not me.
And I fed them.
Yeah.
I was terrified though.
No, I did. But it was such a nice experience being here with the squirrels and the birds. It's such a peaceful place.
The next stop was University of Glasgow. This is one of Scotland's 4 ancient universities and was founded in the year 1451. This is the perfect Instagrammable spot to grab a few pictures. The columns and architecture make for a great ancient setting.
So we made our way to Glasgow University, and as you can see behind me, this university is absolutely stunning. It's said to be one of the oldest universities in Scotland, and a lot of people say it's the scene out of Harry Potter. I definitely wish that I got to university in a place like this. Okay, so that's it from us from Glasgow. Tomorrow morning we're catching the train quite early and we're going up to Inverness. There we go, that's right. So we're going up to Inverness and hopefully get a chance to go to Loch Ness. I always love taking the train along the countryside because the views are amazing, and this train ride to Inverness did not disappoint. The train ride was almost 4 hours long, but time really flew by while admiring Scotland's landscape.
So we arrived now at Inverness. We're just walking toward our accommodation, and as you can see, walking around alongside this amazing archway, which is the River Ness, and it seems quite peaceful down here at Inverness.
We took a walk around the town to do a bit of sightseeing, and then begins our search for the Loch Ness monster.
On May 2nd, interest steadily grew after a couple had seen the animal on land. Amateur investigators have for decades kept an almost constant vigil, and in the 1960s, several universities launched sonar investigations to the lake, but nothing conclusive was found. Until now.
I found the Loch Ness monster. And always, one of my favorite stops are souvenir shops. You can find the souvenir shop just by the river, and you can pick up some cute Nessie teddies.
Okay, one of the main reasons why I wanted to come up to Inverness was for the Highland cows.
I think we found the Highland cows, but when you get a closer look,
Well, I finally managed to find the Highland cows. I've always wanted to see them because of the distinctive long hair, which keeps them warm in the winter, and it contributes to their stunning appearance, which makes them so popular. We were lucky enough to see them on our way to the Culloden Battlefields.
So, if you made it this far into the video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. We had then taken a short walk to the Culloden Battlefield and stopped by the Cumberland Stone first. This is a large stone not far from the battlefield, and it is said that the Duke of Cumberland ate his breakfast sitting on the stone on the day of the battle in 1746. It is also said that he watched the battle from here.
We then finally made our way to the battlefield. This was a battle fought between the Jacobites and the British in the 17th century. The battle lasted for almost an hour and the Jacobites were defeated. This is now a museum with a visitor center and an interactive exhibition. You can walk around the battlefield to get a feel of the battle that had ensued in the 17th century.
So after a long day of exploring, it was time to get back to our hotel. We had stayed at the Glen Mhor Hotel, which was located across the Loch Ness. My favorite part of this was the view of the loch from our room. You can also find this hotel in the link below. We had arrived way before our check-in time, but the hotel was nice enough to keep our luggage, which allowed us to freely explore the city.
okay, so we're leaving Inverness now. The town is absolutely quiet. It's about 5:15 in the morning, and we're about to jump on the train to Edinburgh.
Alright, we just arrived in Edinburgh, and as you can see behind us, everything looks amazing. We're gonna go on the Edinburgh Castle tour a little later on, and then we'll some tasting.
After another long train ride early in the morning, breakfast had to be the first thing on our itinerary, and then we continued on our journey. We had first stopped at the St. Giles Cathedral, which is free to enter. St. Giles Cathedral was founded in 1124 by King David I and has been a working church for almost 900 years. A backdrop to Scotland's turbulent religious history, it has seen the seeds of civil war sown and been John Knox's parish church during the Reformation. It is still an important centre for civic services.
The next stop was Edinburgh Castle. The path leading up to the castle is referred to as the Royal Mile. This is at the heart of Edinburgh's old town, and its name comes from the tradition as a processional route for kings and queens for the last 500 years. As you walk the streets of Edinburgh, you will notice a brass plate on the wall which records that it was on this very spot that George Bryce had become the last person to be publicly executed in Edinburgh.
So we finally arrived at Edinburgh Castle, and as you can see, this tons of tourists around. I assume it's like this all year round. And we're about to go for a tour that we booked online for. So we'll see you in there.
So the sun does come up in Scotland every now and again.
The view of Edinburgh from the castle is simply amazing. It stands 443 feet, which is 135 meters above sea level, and overlooks the city of Edinburgh from a volcanic crag called Castle Rock. This made for a perfect viewpoint for any wars or invasions.
This castle stands on a rock called Castle Rock, and it's been occupied by human beings since the Iron Age. The early inhabitants of this is a bit unclear, but it's said to have royal descent that lived here since David I. It's been used as a military base from the 16th century onwards, 17th century onwards, so we're going to go in and explore a bit more. Edinburgh Castle is home to St. Margaret's Chapel, which is one of the oldest surviving buildings. It was originally thought that St. Margaret herself had worshipped in the small chapel, but the style of architecture indicates that it was built during the reign of David I. So for a while, we decided to take a bit of a break inside the Edinburgh Castle tea rooms because it's quite cold out there. So we just want to warm up a bit first before we continue our tour.
We had continued with our tour once we were done with afternoon tea. We had then stopped at David's Tower. David II is responsible for building the once mighty David's Tower. The tower was the heart of the castle in the late 1300s. It is said that hundreds of men slept in these towers during the wars. Edinburgh Castle is rich in history, and you can find the Royal Scots Museum, which displays the collections of the Royal Scots and the Royal Regiment of Scotland.
After our tour of the castle, we had stopped at the souvenir shop to pick up a few gifts.
Okay, so that concludes our tour of the Edinburgh Castle, and one of my highlights was we went to what was that place called again?
The Scots Royal Guard Museum.
Right, so that museum where it shows all the battles that the Scottish have fought all those years ago, and the dates and the different countries that were involved in, so it was quite interesting to see that.
My highlight, I think, was visiting the St. Margaret's Chapel. It's one of the oldest buildings in Edinburgh, so it was quite nice to see that. I think it was in the early 1130, so it's quite an old building.
Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the tour as much as we did. On to the next.
Our final stop in Edinburgh was a whiskey tasting tour. This is not too far from the Edinburgh Castle, which makes for a great location. You can find the link in the description below if you want to book one of these tours.
The Whiskey Experience does a fantastic tour. You can also grab a few bottles of your favorites from their store. We have learned about the types of Scotch whisky, its history, and how it's made. And finally, we went on to tasting some whiskies.
One of my favorite whiskies from this tour was a whiskey from Islay, which had an amazing smokiness to it.
And for me, I had chosen a whiskey from Speyside. This was an extra matured whiskey which had a full-bodied texture.
We also had a chance to explore the gallery of whiskies, which had one of the oldest whiskies in it. If you are a whiskey lover, this is definitely the place for you.
And with this, we end our vlog of Scotland. Overall, our experience of Scotland was amazing. From the food to the landscape, the ancient architecture, and the Scotch whisky. We enjoyed every moment and every experience, and we definitely cannot wait to visit again.
We hoped you enjoyed touring Scotland with us. Be sure to like the video and to subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you in the next one.